What's the most fucked up thing you've seen at a friend's house? When I was 10 or 11, my best friend's dad got angry, grabbed my friend by the arm, and dragged him across the living room. Snapped his arm. Family blamed it on some skating accident. Did you lose touch with them after their family went to be winter caretakers for a hotel one season? Because I may have some bad news. Fuck the what the fuck, that is no bueno. Went to pick up some headphones my friend was selling to me. Walk into the living room and I noticed a lady sitting in a chair that's unresponsive. He's like, oh, that's my aunt, she's high on heroin. I said hi, but she didn't notice, blink or anything. Got the headphones and left. Turns on Curtis Mayfield radio, life in the GE2. My friend lives in the basement and his parents are hoarders, so he has to walk through a tunnel of car parts, furniture, Christmas decorations, moldy clothes, and dried dog shit just to go upstairs to use the bathroom. There's a bathroom downstairs, but they didn't seem it important enough to fix for him. And when you come over, you can tell when they've tried to fill his mostly clean room with junk again and he's had to push it back out onto the piles. I grew up like that. Tried so hard to keep a space for myself as, relatively, clean as I could, but you also don't learn a lot of good habits being raised like that. Cleanliness and hygiene really didn't take until I moved out for college. If he's under 18, I'd get the authorities involved. That kind of business is dangerous. His mom was single and had a different boyfriend every other month. She would always walk around naked and have loud sex with her boyfriend while the door was open. It was awkward as fuck to play Halo with my friend knowing his mom is getting railed upstairs. We were like 8, by the way. Guessing your name is Mac and your friend's name is Charlie? I had a friend that was the first to move out in our friends group because he was dating some chick and they couldn't stay at each other's houses. I have no idea how he found it, but he rented a room in this Section 8 neighborhood in this project apartment building from these randos. It was an older 50-something-year-old couple and he was like 18 at the time. These people were crazy as fuck though. The lady was this white lady who was literally like 400 pounds or more. We called her Jabba the Hutt. Her husband was this skinny old Mexican dude who claimed he was a black belt and was always trying to show us his kung fu moves while drunk, knocking over shit on the table and breaking things in the house. Jabba would get mad and they'd break out into some screaming fight with plates being thrown and shit. My friend and I would just slink back to his room to chill during this. My friend's room was as clean as it could be, but those people were disgusting. It smelled like a city dump in their part of the apartment. We didn't spend that much time there, but sometimes he'd invite me over just to watch these crazy ass people throw glass cups and plates at each other. I had a friend who lived on his own in high school and we partied there a lot. He had a revolving door of roommates to help with rent. One of these roommates was a pretty serious drug dealer. He was extremely paranoid and rarely spoke to us besides threats. He had ordered, threatened, that no one ever go in his room and it was always locked. Well, one day he got arrested and had pounds of drugs in the car. Off to jail. He had communicated through family again not to enter his room and eventually his family would come get his things. Weeks went by and a strange smell started coming from the locked room. This dude and his family were super scary, so we didn't want to fuck around and find out. But finally my friend was like, WTF is this smell? Maybe it's trash and I can get it out of here without touching anything else. No. It was a huge boa constrictor no one knew about. I think it had died and that was the issue. He didn't have it in any proper tank, so it clearly wasn't taken care of. Dang, poor snake frown. Holy shit, I was expecting a body. A new kid moved a couple doors down. I befriended him, and he invited me round his house one day. He just went for a piss in the corner of his bedroom. He and his family were pretty messed up in hindsight. Yeah. I had some friends who lived in my neighborhood. They would wipe their asses on the shower curtain. So you'd go to use the bathroom and there were shit stains everywhere. As a kid I just thought they were gross. But there was probably a lot more going on there. I had a friend in middle school who did the same thing. If he was playing video games he'd just stand up and piss in the corner of the room so he didn't have to pause the game. My friend's mom, raging alcoholic, was really drunk and pulled a shotgun on us not knowing who we were, due to being blackout drunk. This was at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Technically it was my house, but my roommate had some friends over and they got really drunk. One of them decided to come into my room while I was sleeping and jump on top of my bed. He then proceeded to jokingly pull out his .45 handgun and point directly into my face and yelled and asked why I wasn't partying with them. Jeff Youth Crit. A co-worker had a few people over for drinks after work. She had 2 kids, and mentioned she'd just gotten 2 kittens for those kids, who were 3 and 5. They ran around grabbing and dragging the kittens around, and later the co-worker put them away. She then complained about how the kids and the kittens were too much, and how she directly regretted taking the kittens in. I heard constant meowing and asked if they were okay. She says, "Oh shit, I didn't feed them." Now, we both worked at a breakfast restaurant, worked all day, and had been sitting for a few hours by this point in the evening. I followed her to the room she put them in and you couldn't see the floor, covered in clothes. And the smell, as you can imagine, was that of a full room cat litter box. Poor things were locked in their own poop and pee, hungry, with the lights off. I asked if she would consider letting me take them. She agreed and I came early the next morning to take them both. I've had them for 7 years now. I'm glad for the happy ending. I was at a dirty, sad house party and this girl opened a filthy closet to reveal her poor cat who had just given birth. Drunk with the music blaring, this chick grabbed the newborn kittens and started passing them around roughly to everyone standing around. She even shoved one in her pocket to emphasize how tiny they were. It was beyond horrifying. I knew almost nobody there, but out of nowhere this really nice guy I knew in high school emerged from the crowd and was as angry as I was about it. He returned to that nasty house every day for weeks to take care of the mama and kittens. When they were still too young to leave their mom but at least several weeks old, he and I found new homes for the kittens and each took one home. Sadly, the girl wouldn't let us take the mama cat. That's how I got my first cat ever, Megadeth, and she was a sweetheart but had awful anxiety issues. She also never grew to be more than 8 pounds and looked like a Puma kitten. A few years later my dad almost killed her, but that little badass pulled through, after a month with a feeding tube inserted in her neck, and lived to be 14. She was a good girl and I miss her. My neighbor friend had a bucket in the corner of her room that she said was to relieve herself in when her parents locked her in. I was 7 and she was 9, we moved away shortly after and I didn't realize that this was not normal until several years later. I hope she made it to adulthood okay. I worked at an apartment complex. One of my jobs was to come in after someone moved out and do a maintenance assessment. It usually is pretty straightforward if they leave the apartments the way they got it. Normal wear and tear to check. The worst exception to this was an eviction. The living room was full of garbage intentionally. They had left their dog inside and didn't clean up after it. That was terrible, but the worst part was the kids' room. I can guess the kids were between 3 to 6 based on how high up the walls the crayon marks reached. The walls were covered as much as a kid could. If they were the age it seemed like they were, it would have taken a lot of uninhibited time to do. They must have drawn on the wall for months. The closet smelled like piss and the lock on the door faced out into the hallway. They had changed the knob around so they could lock their kids in their room. At that point, I assumed I was in an active crime scene and left to report it. I didn't get any follow-up since I had the main office report it, but the tenant's information was sent to the police and they saw the apartment in the condition I found it. All in all, it was very disturbing just to see the aftermath of what was obviously neglect. Damn. I had a similar experience. Around 10 years old, I slept over a neighbor's house and the parents would lock all the kids' doors. I had to piss and my friend got all nervous about waking his parents. Pissed through the window screen. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.